Hey there, and welcome to Into the Terminal, episode 24. My name is Eric, the IT Guy Hendricks, and joining me is my co-host, Scott McBrien.
Good morning.
So, Scott, we're going to have a little bit of a different episode today because there's this little get-together next week. I don't know, it's like a mountaintop excursion or something.
Yeah, we're climbing the mountain of Red Hat. It's arduous, a long journey. No. Uh, yeah, so next week is Red Hat Summit.
So yeah, all of us have done nothing but live and breathe Summit for the last few weeks. So the Summit puns no bounds. It would seem. So we decided to take a step back from the terminal, as it were, for today, and we wanted to talk about how do you engage with Red Hat outside of the sales cycle. How do you engage with Red Hat? Just across the board. So today we're going to talk about watering holes. We're going to talk about support cases. We're going to talk a little bit about events that you can expect throughout the year, Summit being one of those. So, with that said, for our critical path, we wanted to revisit a topic that we covered very early on in the show, and that was how to engage with Red Hat support. If you're trying to work with Red Hat Enterprise Linux and you come across some bug, or if you're looking for some kind of upgrade advice, access.redhat.com is the place you want to go. So probably the most direct path for existing customers is to go to access.redhat.com, log into your account, and what we're going to do today is create a sample support case. So Scott's logged in, and we can see our account number. We can, as we covered during our launch week, we can go to My Subscriptions and see what systems are registered, how many of our subscriptions we're currently using. But let's go ahead and open a support case. So this allows us to very easily work through several steps on how to open a case and get it to the right people. In fact, this is one of the more intuitive support case interfaces I've ever worked with. So it allows us to pick an organization. So if we have multiple orgs, maybe you're a CXO over multiple different business units, and every business unit has their own account. We can actually choose between our different accounts right here. We could put in who the owner of this case is going to be, and then let's see. Let's pick something fun. Let's create how about just a customer service request? We'll there in the top left.
How about we do a defect or bug instead?
You
So
have the con. Let's do it.
all right. So this question, right, what it's asking you is actually going to determine the routing for your case. So if you say that it's an account or customer service request, it's going to go to a group of people that handle businessy things like I don't have the right number of subscriptions attached to my account, or I can't see another group of subscriptions that I should because I don't have the right credentials hooked into the both accounts or something like that. That's what that first one is. Certification is for taking Red Hat certs. Um, Configuration issue, I think that there's a problem with how I have my machine configured. Defect or bug, so I'm having an error. I think that I've discovered a bug. Feature enhancement or request. So this is like, I would like to see this operate in this new and different way that it does not currently operate in. Or I think it should add this additional thing to give me more utility. The other one that's or configuration issue, defect bug, feature enhancement request, those actually all go to our technical support engineer organization for review and further routing. Um, Usage documentation help. So this goes to our team that manages all the Red Hat documentation over at redhat.com/docs. So like the install guide, the security configuration guide, that's where those kinds of things go. And then other goes to a group of people that try to figure out like where that should go, and then they route it further. All right. So the reason I said defective bug is because that'll go to our technical support engineers.
Perfect. So, of course, this is part of the Red Hat Enterprise Linux group. So we'll go ahead and pick Red Hat Enterprise Linux for our product. Definitely 9.0 beta. Let's see, what have we been talking about lately? Let's see. How about installs and upgrades? Let's see what's going on there.
All right. And again, this question is going to do your routing. So I said that by picking a bug or problem, we're going to go to the technical support engineers. Awesome. But even they are further gradated into different places. So like there's technical support engineers that specialize on kernel stuff, that specialize on storage stuff, that specialize on package management stuff. And so accurately picking your answer here will make sure it goes to the right what we call an SBR or specialty based routing.
What's great is under each category, there's actually links to knowledge base articles that say, hey, if you're having a problem with this, these are the top, 6 or so issues that we commonly see. So we could open up one of those K-base articles and see if that fixes our issue. If not, then we can of course continue on with our wizard here. Excuse me. So just so that we don't inadvertently divert resources away from our support organization for our episode, normally you'd give you'd give a summary of the issue. For instance, I'm trying to install RHEL on a 20-year-old piece of hardware and it's not working. And then in the more detailed section, we can actually go through and provide exact error codes or descriptions of I was trying to do this and this is the result. Just any information that you can think to provide to the support organization will definitely increase the velocity at which you and the support team can get engaged and get get a resolution. In fact, even here as we're typing, the support interface is looking at some of the keywords and phrases within our description and trying to pull up additional solutions. Excuse me. I'll live, I promise. You were going to say something there, Scott.
Nope.
So now we can go in and we can add some additional details around our case, like if there's a particular host name that we're working with. We can talk about severity, like my entire multi-billion-dollar industry or my entire multi-billion-dollar company is down, or no major impact, just a frustration. Again, the more details that you can provide, the better off you'll be.
And for the business impact and time frame, so we categorize issues with a severity rating, and the rating goes from 1 to 4. And severity 1 is like, I am full production outage, critical impact, right? And based off of the severity rating you apply, determines things like the support level agreement, right? How quickly Red Hat has to respond to those cases. So, of course, the greedy method of doing things is always to set everything sub 1, right? Because then it's like, oh, I want to Red Hat immediately. And in reality, what will end up happening, and this will be very unhappiness for you, is we'll read through what's going on and like go, well, satellite server, that doesn't sound like a production system per se. Let's reclassify that as a 2 or a 3, right? So Red Hat support engineers will actually read through what you're putting down in the case and will reassign severities based off of it. And it used to be you could choose your severity, but guess what? So many people chose Sev 1 all the time that now we instead ask you to like describe the experience that you're having, and then we take care of taking that description and aligning it to a severity. Um, so severity will do things like change the frequency at which Red Hat has to correspond with you, how quickly Red Hat has to respond to the issue initially, things like is it eligible for follow the sun support, where the TSEs pass it off from person to person as they come on and off work shifts. Um, and so to like make things not insane, use your best judgment. And while it might be important to you, realize that it may not meet the severity requirements that warrants a follow the sun type approach. So that's what's being asked here. All right, I'm just going to leave the rest of it empty. All right,
That was a
noticed
great description.
you may have noticed a couple times when we were opening the case there was this file uploader and analyzer, and it's here again. This is to upload any kind of files that you think would help. But typically, when we are working on a support case, we will ask for a sauce report. A sauce report is a archive of files collected off of the target machine that includes things like output of different commands, like a process status or an IO stat or a VM stat, so we can kind of get a picture of what's going on in the system. It also includes things like configuration files in Etsy, a listing of the installed packages. Like there's a whole bunch of data that sauce report collects. And so we're saying, hey, upload your thing that you want to provide to us. It could be that you're wanting to provide us a log file or just a single configuration file, whatever makes sense for people to analyze for this specific issue. But generally, creating a sauce report and uploading it is a great way to keep your first interaction from Red Hat being, can you upload your sauce report? Um, Instead, you're providing them all the information they need to get started on your case, and they can start working it rather than having to stop, ask you for more information, and then resume work once it gets close to the SLA where they're supposed to do more work. And we can run through creating a sauce report really quick in the deeper dive if you would like, Eric, or we could do it another day.
We might hold that in reserve because there's actually also a Red Hat support tool command line interface that we can actually have run a sauce report for us and automatically upload it in the background. So we might address that in a future episode. I'll be sure to link a blog post. I think I wrote one a couple of years ago. I'll see if I can dig it up.
You're talking about the command line tool for opening
Mm-hmm.
support cases.
Yep.
So you know what's not in RHEL 9?
Oh no.
Yeah, it was infrequently enough used that they determined that it wasn't worth the engineering effort to continue to maintain it.
Oh, I'm heartbroken now.
Yeah. So here we see the support level, so standard or premium. So realize that Red Hat sells 3 levels of support: self-support, which you wouldn't be opening support cases if you were on self-support; standard, which is business day support, so essentially like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. local time. That's when we'll interact with the support case; and premium support, which is eligible for outside business hours and a variety of other things. Um, so the support level is also tied to the subscription attached to the system that you are filing your support case with. So if your subscription is a standard subscription, you should choose standard support level for that system. If you're on a premium system, then you should choose premium because that's what it's entitled to. So because my account has both, they actually ask me to choose which one it is for the machine that I'm reporting against. All right, and then we can see the severity here, right? And it's 1 to 4, and so a lot of stuff, is going to fall into 3 and 4, right? In my experience, very little stuff is 2 or 1. I used to work all of the cases for online training, or not all of them, but a lot of them, and people would often do a Sev 1 because it was really important to them that their online lab or whatever work that they were having problems with. But level 1 is production system outage. Is your training lab a production system? No. So that would be like always a 4, where it's like, it's a problem, I want you to fix it. And while, again, it's important to you that it get fixed as quickly as possible, that the severities exist so that we can give resources where they are most needed. All right.
And of
So
course, it gives
now we
us
filled
the.
out all the rest of the form. Go ahead.
And this was something cool, was that it still allows us to make edits to this particular screen. And in fact, areas that we haven't filled out stand out with that bright white background on top of the gray. So it may be just a dumb little thing, but to me, it's like, oh, I should probably fill that information in before I hit submit.
Okay. So at this point, we're going through and submitting the case, and now I can have my case number, and I can review the case, and it shows up in my cases list, and I can make edits. This is also where we'll go back and forth with the support engineers working my case, right? So as they update the case, they'll add a comment to it. They may change the status of it. Um, there's also, here's the status right here, waiting on Red Hat, right? So I've submitted the case, I've submitted whatever it is, and now I'm waiting for Red Hat's response. When the engineer updates it, they will set the status to waiting on customer, meaning that it's waiting for me to do something, right? They asked me for a piece of data, they asked me to confirm something or provide more details. If it's waiting on customer, there is no one looking at that case, right? Because it's waiting on you. So Red Hat's obligation at that point is not happening because there's nothing for us to do. We've asked you for something, we're waiting on you. So whenever it gets switched to waiting on customer, you want to jump in there, provide your whatever update they've requested, and then set it back to waiting on Red Hat. And that's the key that Red Hat will start working the case again. For this case, because I told them that it wasn't a real case and they should close it, then they will set it to closed, and then I can set it to close if I want. Right, so that I can remove it from the case queue and they don't have to worry about responding to it. So there you go. That's a little bit on submitting and managing support cases.
All right, so that was an awesome look at support cases, and I actually did talk to the support team before this episode and make sure that we could do that live on air without messing anybody's day up. So thank you to the support team for helping us through that particular discussion. So I wanted to touch on a few other things that that would be relevant. Some other areas where you can get support. A lot of times we may face an issue with a workload or something that goes onto a Red Hat Enterprise Linux box. So it's not exactly something, maybe a database, or maybe it's Apache. It may not be something directly related to RHEL. And so you may want to get other people's advice, or maybe it's a workflow question of, do I want to run my web apps database on the same server as my application front end? Any number of things that wouldn't quite qualify, I would say, for a support case. You may want to get other sysadmins or other developers' ideas on those particular topics. So luckily, between Red Hat and Red Hat Enterprise Linux specifically, there's customers, community members, there's users, there's even Red Hatters, folks like Scott and myself, there's product managers, there's engineers that actually work on the code that are out on the internet in public spaces where you can come and hang out. One of the most obvious, I would say, is our Twitter handle, and that is at RHEL. So thank you for the Twitter team for setting us up with that. So if you go out to Twitter, follow us at RHEL. We answer questions there. We post events. different things along those lines. Post links to blogs and videos that come out. Also, you may want to go follow the mothership account, and that's at Red Hat. There's a few others. Several other products have their own handles. There's also things like Red Hat Summit has a handle. I think those are the main ones. Actually, Support has a Twitter handle as well. Let's see. And then if you're watching this video, you've either followed us on YouTube or Twitch. So congrats. That was the next one on our list. You want to talk a little bit about events, Scott?
Sure. So there's also a events page, and I'll throw it in the chat here. So, whoops, there's too many S's on that. So our marketing teams will organize things like workshops, webinars, Summit is an example, and they will post those events that are coming up on the events page. And a lot of times there will be an email that might be sent to people who have registered for marketing emails from Red Hat that will also tell them about the event, but not always, because we have rules for how frequently we can email people, because we don't want to just like crush you with random Red Hat emails. So if you're interested in more events from Red Hat, you can classify it or select which events by product and a whole bunch of other things. You could surf through the events page and see if there's anything interesting happening that you'd like to sign up for.
Let's see.
And then before we switch into some community and less formal watering holes, the two other places where you can engage with Red Hat and some of the community members as well is the knowledge base. So if you have a Red Hat subscription, you are allowed access to the knowledge base, even if that subscription is a no-cost developer for individual subscription. You get access to the knowledge base, or a self-support subscription gives you access to the knowledge base. So there we have a combination of Red Hatters and other people who contribute to the knowledge base to do things like answer questions or provide updates to articles. So that's a place where you can go. And you notice that we were opening cases of suggesting that we actually go out to the knowledge base and read some of the articles there based off of keywords that we put into our case. The other thing is Bugzilla. So Bugzilla is where we keep track of all bugs and feature requests. It is public, so you can go to bugzilla.redhat.com and you will see our Bugzilla instance. And you'll notice sometimes you'll see in your support case a BZ and a number, or you might see in a RPM change log BZ and a number. That's telling you the Bugzilla ID number for the bug that was closed, or where they're tracking that bug. So sometimes you might experience an issue, and it's because of a bug. So Bugzilla is how we like get that bug stuff into engineering workflow for engineers to figure it out, write an update, backport something from upstream, whatever the case may be for resolving that bug. And so a Bugzilla is open for it, and that's how engineering works with the like support and software organization. So if you get a Bugzilla, that's how you can track some of the back end things that are happening on your support request if you're affected by a bug.
So it wasn't until I actually came to work for Red Hat that I found out that the knowledge base was actually had a community driven aspect to it as well. So just the fact that you can go out there and get something that's written from the perspective of a non Red Hatter really gives some credence to a lot of the content that's out there. It's amazing content. A lot of it's more process driven than say documentation driven. So it's a little bit more. I don't know. It's a little bit more use case than just here's all the technical information in a web based manual. Have fun. Good luck. So I definitely find both the knowledge base and our online documentation to be a good partner to have one kind of on each screen. So that's sort of the official platforms. Those are Red Hat driven. A lot of those like like the events page and our support cases have specific times at which we'll post information, or especially with support, there's SLAs, there's a certain amount of hours that Red Hat has to respond. But there's also some community driven, and that's one of the things that we've been really focused on for the past 6 or 9 months or so, is shoring up our presence in some of those spaces. Live stream is a component of that. But before we go into this segment, I kind of want to caveat the fact that these are community driven efforts as kind of as an as available method. So don't go out to say our Red Hat Reddit subreddit and expect a response within like 24 hours, because it's is someone that knows the answer to your thing available, and do they have time to write a cogent response? And so it's very very much it's very much community centric. But with that being said, I just wanted to kind of caveat that. Scott, do you have anything else to add there?
Well, as we get into these community resources, and a lot of them are Red Hat related, and there are Red Hatters that hang out there, um, I think it's important to note that these are um, places where Red Hatters choose how much engagement they want to have. Right, there is no obligation on the part of Red Hat Incorporated to actually like engage in these communities. These are the people that um, want to go the extra mile and engage with the community. And the same is true for the other community members that are not Red Hatters. Right, they're doing this out of their own desire to contribute, which is awesome. But it is sometimes a mixed bag on like, do you get your thing answered? Who is the person answering it? But these are places where you can find Red Hatters just around that have expertise or that want to contribute to the community. And so the first on that list is Reddit. And Eric, you are a designated Redditor. So why don't you
One
tell
of
us a little
them.
bit about how people interact with that space?
So I've found that people either love Reddit or hate it, and so for no matter which side of that coin you come down on, there is a growing group of folks that hang out on Reddit. Reddit. This is one of those areas where RHEL does not have its own handle. We share with all the other products and with Red Hat at large. So you can actually go out to reddit.com/r/Red Hat, and there's discussion posts about a lot of our live events. There's links to blog articles and product announcements. So there is sort of that official Red Hat content aspect to it, but the majority of what we see in the majority of what we see posted on the subreddit is, "Hey, I'm trying to do this thing. Has anyone else seen this particular error?" Or, "I want to become a sysadmin. How do I learn these things?" Or, "I'm trying to take my RHCSA exam." And so I mean, Reddit is very much kind of a reimagining of the old PHP bulletin boards that I spent so much of my college and early career years hanging out on, and posting questions and upvoting and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a gamified uh, bulletin board approach if you're unfamiliar with Reddit. Then the next one on our list is, we actually have quite a large presence on IRC still. Scott, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, because that's one of the communities where I engage more. So we moved all of our projects and community channels that we managed to LiberaChat. So irc.libera.chat. And then the channels that you will find Red Hatters in, and there's more than this, but these are the big ones, is Pound RHEL. So that's where the Red Hat Enterprise Linux related Red Hatters will hang. Pound Red Hat dash satellite. Um, so that's for our satellite team. Pound EPEL, EPEL, that's extra packages for Enterprise Linux channel. Pound CentOS, so that's for CentOS Stream. Uh, and Pound Fedora is for the Fedora distribution. And there's a ton of other offshoot channels. So like there's social channels, there's downstream clone channels. Like there's all kinds of different channels, but these are the ones where I expect and find a lot of my fellow Red Hatters participating, um, as well as, again, additional, usually very knowledgeable community members. Um, so that's if you want to engage on IRC. So, Eric, what about Matrix?
So for those of us that have spent all those years on Matrix or on IRC channels and have started moving our presence over to Matrix and the Element client in particular, I wanted to mention that Fedora actually has their own Matrix server, and a lot of their rooms um, are uh, are bridged between. Geez, I just lost my train of thought there. A lot of Fedora communities are bridged between IRC and Matrix, so you can actually engage with Fedora either way. But um, there's also there's a Red Hat Matrix room that was stood up by one of our regular attendees, Mr. Conan Kudo, stood up a community room on Matrix for. Sorry, the chat's blowing up, and I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any questions. For Red Hat, so there's a growing number of Red Hatters, and and a number of other topics that go on in there. So if you're a Matrix user, definitely go head out to Red Hat on the matrix.org server. There's also a learning community that I actually have not spent much time on. Scott, you wanna share since you snuck this one in our show notes on me?
Sure. So this is learn.redhat.com is the open learning community. So it's run by the Red Hat training and certification folks. Um, Eric and I were talking before the show about how there's a lot of questions about Red Hat certifications and training places, and a lot of these different watering holes that we already talked about. And this is a place where you can engage with the Red Hat training and certification team, as well as other Red Hatters. So that's why I throw it on the list. Um, I think that's the last place we want to talk about. I know there's a couple other items that Eric wanted to round out our episode with.
Yeah. So we mentioned Red Hat Summit at the top of the episode, and I definitely wanted to share out the link to their /summit. Because there's going to be a lot of sessions across the entire portfolio, from the vision level perspective to even down to the technical feature level of what's new, what's coming out. It's free to register. You can check out. I think like 95% of the sessions will either be live streamed or available after the fact. I know there's just a couple of sessions that are in person only. They're more for a different audience, so those will not be available after the fact. But there's some key sessions, like Mr. Scott here has got one on developing applications with containers. Our buddy John Spinks, who I inadvertently am showing off his product today, has a couple of sessions on Red Hat Insights and how to manage RHEL in the cloud. There's an interesting thought leadership session that Dion, one of our colleagues, recorded about does the operating system still matter? So there's a bunch of sessions out there. I think there's 24 that have something to do either directly or indirectly with RHEL. There's a schedule builder on the Summit website, so you can go out and actually build out all the different sessions you want to see. If you will be in Boston for Summit, definitely go hang out in the Red Hat space, in the Red Hat booth, because I'll be there, as well as a number of our other folks from the BU, and so I want to pitch a thought. I know we're over time, but I want to pitch a thought, Scott, and I want to get your opinion on this as well. But I'm thinking we have like a Reddit watch party. We all go out, hang out on Reddit. We start a thread, and we go through, and maybe like once a week or maybe a couple of times in a week, we'll sit down and we'll watch a session together. Since we can't all be there together live, what if we did like a watch party?
Uh, Sounds interesting. I definitely do at least one.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth a shot, and I'd love to hang out and. Um, I think it'd be fun to hang out and to share some ideas. And in the case of in the case of Scott, you know, we could sit around and make fun of him as he talks.
I mean, that's my everyday, all day, Eric. Thank you.
That is true. So keep an eye out on Twitter. We'll put a poll or something out to see if any of y'all would like to join us for that. With that said, because of Red Hat Summit, as we kind of wrap up this episode, I did want to point out that I believe Scott and I will both be traveling next week. So there will be no Into the Terminal next week. I know that breaks everyone's hearts, but there will not be a dark mode or a regular episode on the 12th. But never fear, because the week after episode 25, we're going to be focusing on third-party repositories, things like EPEL, and how to configure third-party repos, and kind of what your expectation is around quality of packages, that kind of thing, versus things that are in the Red Hat official repositories, and answer all of your EPEL questions to your heart's content. So also, I know a lot of announcements today. Also, stay tuned on this channel. Our producer Stephanie is hanging out in the chat right now, because here in about 21 minutes, our very own Gunnar, the VP over the Red Hat Enterprise Linux Business Unit, will be joining us, or not joining us, but he will be interviewed on In the Clouds, a show that usually airs on the Red Hat YouTube channel. Is actually going to be cross promoted here to the Red Hat Enterprise Linux channel. So go grab some breakfast, grab a cup of coffee, and join Gunnar for an interview in about 21 minutes. Scott, did I leave anything out?
Nope.
A lot of announcements today for such a short show. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for checking out the chat with all the links we put in there today. They'll be in the show notes later on today. And make sure to like, subscribe, share this with a friend. We've gotten tons of feedback from y'all, and we really appreciate it. It really means a lot when you give us content ideas, and when you engage with the content itself. That helps us justify doing more content like this. So with that being said, we'll let you all get back to your day. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.